Introduction to Masechet Eruvin, to Tractate of Eruvin. Masechet zo mashlima et Masechet Shabbat. This entire tractate is actually part of Shabbat. It's the completion of Shabbat. It's going to tell us new rules about domain that we didn't discuss before. You have the private domain, you have the public domain, you have Carmelit, you have all these kind of places. So it's going to discuss specifically new rules. והיא עוסקת בביאור הרשויות השונות ופרטי דיניהם. It's going to tell us of the different domains and the different rules inside of them. וכן בדיני תחום שבת. Also it tells us the distance of Shabbat, how much you can travel out of the city limit. So in order to understand this, we need to understand the way they lived in the old time, which is a little bit different than to how we live these days. הבתים בעיר היו בנויים בימיהם בתוך חצרות. The houses in those times were used to be built inside a yard. Let's take an example. There was a father, let's say, who bought a piece of field, a piece of property, and he built his house. So after he had his firstborn son get married, he built his house over here. And somebody else built, and the second son built his house over here, and the third son over here, and the fourth son over here, and the fifth son. So there was a yard. So each house had a yard, and they all together also share the yard. All together, because you don't make an oven, you don't need like a grinding machine for everybody. So you put it in the big courtyard, and then so you have actually 2 yards over here. You have your own private yard next to your house, and then you have a common ground yard for all the sons together or for all the people together. That's the way it used to be built.
Then you're outside all of that.
Oh, we got to see it. והחצרות היו פתוחות לתוך מבוי. Now, so you've got this gentleman on this side of, right over here with all his sons, right? And then you have a gentleman opposite him on the same one. It's like think about it like a small street in between, and you have this 4 gentlemen, and then another 4 gentlemen, another 4 gentlemen, and it would be like this. And all these guys are open up into the street, into a small street. It's called the Mavoy. That street was also usually only common to them, to that neighborhood. It's a street that belonged only to these neighborhoods. Other people would not use it. Okay? שהוא רחוב צר, so they all opened into a narrow street.
It's not a county maintained road.
Think about it like that. That's right. Or let's say it's not public domain. It's not real public domain. Only the people from that neighborhood would use that street. But that street would lead into a main road, and that would be already the public domain. ודרך המבוי היו יוצאים לרחבת העיר. So through this small street you would go to the city, or לדרך המלך, or to the highway. היינו לרשות הרבים. You would go into the public domain or into Carmelit. Okay. ושני סוגי מבואות היו. And even in that, there are 2 types of this street that in between the neighborhood. And it's important to remember these 2 types. What are the 2 types? Aleph, Mavoy Satum. So one of them ends in a dead end. That's what Mavoy Satum means. It ends in a dead end, which means really only these guys are going to use it.
Like a cul-de-sac.
It's a cul-de-sac. There's no use for any other one because it ends. There's nowhere to go. שאינו פתוח לרשות הרבים אלא מצד אחד. It is only open to the public domain on one side. היינו שהוא מוקף מחיצות משלוש רכותיו. Which means that from all the other sides, from 3 sides, it is blocked. It's only open on one side. That's called Mavoy Satum, a street which is closed. It's like a cul-de-sac, like I said. Or Mavoy Mefulash. Sometimes, though, you would have a highway on both sides of this big neighborhood. You would have a highway over here, you would have a highway over here, and it is the street that goes in between goes from one highway to the next highway. It will go through and through. שהוא פתוח משני צדדים, and that one is open from both sides. היינו שאין לו אלא שתי מחיצות זו כנגד זו, it only has two sides, and the other two sides are open to the public domain. ואפשר להיכנס בו בזה ולצאת ממנו בצד הזה שכנגדו. In other words, you can go through one side and go all the way to the other side to the public domain. רשויות אלו, החצר והדנים והמבוי. So we have now almost like three kinds of boundaries, three kinds of laws. You have your own private yard, you have your own yard with your sons or with the people right next to you that you share things. Then you have the street that you also share with the neighborhood. It's like three kinds of, and then you have the public domain itself, which is completely outside. Okay. דינים מיוחדים להם, there's going to have different rules in all these places. המבוארים בפרוטרוט במסכתנו. This is what our tractate Eruvin is going to be discussing. What are the different laws in those different areas? כל חצר דינה כרשות היחיד. So now, first rule. If you have a common courtyard to many houses, so the entire place is considered to be private domain. ואף על פי שגרים בה הרבה דיירים, ויד כולם שווה בה. Even though you have many people who use it, think about almost like an apartment building today. They have the hall, right? Everybody is using it. The hall is it's considered to be a private domain, the hall. In other words, you're allowed to carry there. You're allowed to take things from your house on Shabbat and carry over there. It's a private domain. Right? You never went outside of your private domain. You're still within your private domain. מותר מדין תורה לטלטל בשבת בכל החצר. The Torah allows you to take, it doesn't matter how many people are living in this yard, in this courtyard, right, around. From the Torah, we're going to see it's going to change later on, but from the Torah, you're allowed to take things from your house, put them in the yard, and things from the yard, put them in your house. Anybody who's around that courtyard is allowed to do that.
And so far, someone from the son from the one house can go to the father's house and go through that courtyard.
And by the way, you don't have to be family. I'll just give the example.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody is allowed to go out. Let's
and carry stuff.
And carry stuff. That's right.
So far.
That's right. In today's let's talk practically. In today's day and age, you would have 6 houses, right, that all share a pool that's right in the middle, and they all have a gate into the pool. You know, each one will be allowed to carry things into the pool and to carry things from the pool into their houses. Okay?
Because the pool and outside the pool, but still inside the houses, it's all private?
That's right.
Can a different family, if like one person brings something there, can someone else come and take it?
To where?
Their home. So from their one person's private domain to the imminent domain?
As long as his home is right over there and he's not going to go through anything. If he has an opening right over there, he can take it into his home. But if he doesn't have an opening, as soon as he takes it to a place where he's not allowed to take it, he won't be able to. That's against the law. Okay, so they're allowed to take from yard into the batim. והוא הדין במבוי סתום. Now, so this is with the shared pool for these 6 guys, right? What about that neighborhood is in the other side of the street? So they also have a pool, and they also share that pool. They are not allowed to take things to this pool. And these are guys are not allowed to take their things to the other pool, because that's the private domain from them. But they have a common street in between. So the question is, and the common street has something, let's say, that everybody uses. It has a lemonade stand. I don't know, whatever that you can drink for free, right? So a lemonade machine. So everybody takes lemonades and drinks from there, let's say. So they're allowed to. So the question is, are you allowed to use the street? Is that still considered to be private domain for now? All these guys, the two groups. Let's see. והוא הדין במבוי סתום. So we discussed this in what about a street that is only opened on one side, which is closed, the cul-de-sac street? שאף על פי שכל דיירי החצרות הפתוחות לתוכו עוברים בו, that even though everybody from all those courtyards go into it, מכל מקום הואיל והוא מוקף 3 מחיצות, since the cul-de-sac is surrounded on 3 sides, מותר מן התורה לטלטל בקולו. Even then, anybody in that neighborhood now is going to be allowed to use the cul-de-sac from the Torah, because it's closed on 3 sides. But here comes the rabbis and ruined everything like they usually do. We're going to see soon why. אלא שמדברי סופרים אסור לטלטל במבוי עד שיעשו תיקון בצידו הפתוח לרשות הרבים. The rabbi says you're not allowed to carry inside that street until you're going to fix something in the opening that is opening into the public domain. We're going to discuss what. דהיינו, שיעמידו לחי. They have to make a doorpost. They have to put it, if there's an opening into the public domain, you have to make the opening look different. You have to put a doorpost over there so that everybody will realize, oh, this is the outside to the public domain. Why? Let's see why. לוח או עמוד, you have to put a stand over there or a piece of wood, בצד הכניסה, in the opening to the public domain, או שיניחו שם קורה למעלה על 2 מחיצות. Or you're going to put a beam on top. So you can see it's like a gate that's going out into the public domain. כמבואר במסכתנו, that's what we're going to discuss in the beginning of this מסכת. What's the idea? על ידי כך רואים, through this you're going to see, כאילו יש מחיצה גם ברוח הרביעית של המבוי. It will look to you like it's all closed area. So it looks to you like it's a private domain. או שזה משמש שקר לבריות. And then people are going to know, there's actually going to be 2 opinions we're going to learn of why you need to do this. One, it is because of a mechitza, you're actually making it a private domain, the whole thing. The other one is just an appearance of a private domain. Okay, whatever it is. שידעו להבחין בין המבוי לרשות הרבים, because if once you let them, the kids and the people, run around in the street, in between the neighborhoods, in the cul-de-sac, you let them run around, they're going to have, oh, this street, what's the difference between this street and the next street? But there's a big difference. This street is a private domain. The next street over is going to be a public domain, and you're going to carry. So once you get used to carrying in a street, they want you to make sure that before you take an object into the public domain, you will notice, oh, I'm not allowed to take it over there. Look, there's an opening, there's a whole thing. This is just one domain, and that's the idea. שידעו להבחין בין המבוי לרשות הרבים. So they will be able to distinguish between the small street, the cul-de-sac, to the public domain. or הכרמלית, or the Carmelite. ולא יטעו לחשוב, and they're not going to make a mistake to think, מאחר שהמבוי פתוח לרשות הרבים, they're going to think, since the small street of the cul-de-sac is opening to the public domain, מותר לטלטל גם ברשות הרבים, כשם שמותר לטלטל במבוי. You're allowed to carry also in the public domain, just like I'm allowed to carry in the street that it's called in between. מכל מקום, מבוי סתום המתוקן בלחי או בקורה. Nevertheless, if you fixed this small street that people are now recognize it, either you make it into a private domain or that people recognize it that it is a private domain, you used a beam or you put something on top, then we're going to consider it like a private domain. וכל בני המבוי, in all the houses on the side of the cul-de-sac, מותרים מדין תורה לטלטל בכולו. They will be allowed from the Torah to carry inside of it, ומן החצרות למבוי ומן המבוי לחצרות. They're allowed to carry from the street into the courtyards and from the courtyards into the street. This is the Rambam. Beram, but over here it's going to become even a little bit more complicated. הואיל ויש כאן 13 רשויות, we have 3 types of domains over here, not just one. We have 3 types of domain. והם, what are the 3 domains? Domain number 1 is הבית של כל דייר. the house of each individual, שהיא רשות המיוחדת לבעליה בלבד, which means who's allowed to carry in this house. This house belongs to me, so this is private. It is my private domain. It is my private domain. We're going to see why it's important. Bet hachatzer, then my courtyard. Actually, it's not my courtyard. This is talking about the courtyard that we all share. A courtyard, שהיא רשות משותפת לכל דייריה, which means this small neighborhood all share in this small courtyard, and then המבוי, and then the cul-de-sac itself. Yeah? שדיירי כל החצרות הפתוחות לתוכו, and then you take all the courtyards are opened into the street. יש להם דריסת הרגל בו. They are allowed to go in between. חששו חכמים, the sages were afraid. שמא יטעו הבריות לומר, people are going to make a mistake and they're going to say, מה לי חצר, מה לי מבוא, מה לי רשות הרבים. It says it looks the same. You know, if it's a wealthy neighborhood, they can have a wide street in between, maybe even wider than the public domain street. So people are going to start thinking, oh, you're allowed to carry in streets, and then they're going to come and carry outside.
You say private domain,
Mm-hmm.
and you say it's your private domain. When I come into your private domain, it's considered like my private domain then, as far as domains are concerned?
Oh, very good. We're going to see. Maybe it's for some things it's not. Maybe just for something. So I'll tell you what. For example, I will be allowed to take from the courtyard into my house.
Okay.
Yeah. The question is, are you allowed to take from my house into your house?
Or from the courtyard.
From my house into the courtyard or into the other people's yard? Are you allowed to go into my house, take it into the courtyard, and then take it into the street, and then take it into somebody else's house? So there might be a different change. I am allowed to. The question is, are you allowed to? And we're going to discuss later on this. Okay, so people are going to think, כשם שמוצר להוציא ולהכניס מן הבית לחצר, just like you're allowed to take in and out from the house to the courtyard, ומן החצר למבוי, and from the courtyard you're allowed to take into the street, כך מותר להוציא ולהכניס מרשויות אלה לרשות הרבים. You will also be allowed to take from these domains into the public domain. שאף רשות הרבים אינה אלא רשות משותפת של בני אדם כמו המבוי. Because logically it's exactly the same. It says, what's the difference? Think about it. Our group shares the courtyard. And all these courtyards share the street. And all these streets, right, share the public domain. It's the same logic. So and that's what people, and the whole city, and then the whole country, and then the whole thing, and then there's no, you take away the whole public domain thing. Because it's the same logic all the way through.
And all this, in the Torah, it talks about not doing work or creating on Shabbat.
That's right. This is carrying. Carrying from domain to domain.
About that in
Yeah. It's a specific verse.
It does it for work? I mean, not carrying for work, or is it
Carrying is work. I don't want to go into it, but think about it. What is work? According to Torah, work is melacha. It's changing domains. For example, what does it mean change domain? There's domain of fire, right? There's fire within the rock. It's potential fire. You're not allowed to take the fire within the rock and bring it out of the rock. That's what you're doing. It's actually the entire melachot, all 39 melachos, are derivatives of carrying. You're not allowed to change domains, to take it from one domain and take it to another domain. That's what's called the melacha. But again, we leave that for... לפיכך תקנו חכמים, this is why the sages established, שלא יטלטלו דיירי החצר מבתיהם לחצר מן החצר לבתיהם, אלא אם כן עשו עירוב. So it says, the sages says, guys, look, we need to make a distinction. People are going to make mistakes over here. We are going to establish that the only way you're allowed to carry from your house into the courtyard is if you make a thing called עירוב. What is עירוב? היינו, שכל הדיירים נותנים לפני השבת מאכל בביתו של אחד מהם. All those people who live around this courtyard, they want to use it, they will need to give food. Each one gives a piece of food and puts it into one house. ועל ידי כך נמצאת רשותה המעורבת. In that they're saying, we're all eating here, it all belongs to us. That's what they're saying. So in actually, you have to do something in order for you have to acknowledge that this whole thing belongs to all of you. והרי הם כאילו כולם מרוכזים באותה דירה. והרי כאילו כולם מרוכזים באותה דירה. It is just like they are all concentrating into this one apartment. שמונח במזון העירוב. That in it we have the food for the עירוב. וכל החצר על בתיה כאילו היא רשות אחת ואחידה. In other one we're actually saying that this entire thing this entire courtyard is one domain. והוא הדין במבוי סתום המתוקם בלחי ובקורה. And the same thing we're going to do to all the yards who are opening into the small street, the cul-de-sac like we said. שאין בני החצרות רשאים לטלטל מן החצרות למבוי ומן הבוי לחצרות, that all the courtyard around the small street are not allowed to carry into the small street, עד שיערבו כל בני המבוי, until the entire neighborhood is going to put food into this one place. מבערב שבת, obviously it needs to be from before Shabbat, you're not allowed to make domains on Shabbat itself. באחת מן החצרות, they have to put all the food in one of the courtyards, so that they all make it into one. העירוב שעושים בני החצר זה עם זה, הוא נקרא עירובי חצרות. When the people making עירוב, this one with another one, this is called עירוב חצרות, making the courtyards into one. ושעושים בני המבוי זה עם זה, הוא נקרא שיתוף מבוי. And when everybody is using the street, that it is called, you making the street into one. It's called שיתוף מבוי, the street becomes one. או שיתופי מבואות. בגמרא מובא, in the Gemara it's brought down, שתקנת העירובים נתקנה, it says when in the historical time they saw it was a problem, in historical time, it becoming that people were starting to use public domain because they thought that everything is the same. In the time of King, it actually happened before it, but it became worse in the time of King Solomon. So at the time of King Solomon, King Solomon and his court established that, so that people are going to remember that you're not allowed to carry. So they know that they need to make an eruv, and now they know that they made an eruv. It's only over here that they're allowed to carry, and not out in the public domain. במסכתנו מתברים עבר פירוטי הדינים של עירובי חצירות ושיתופי מבואות. Our Masechet is going to tell us about all the laws, how to make עירוב חצרות, how to make the courtyard one, and how to make the streets one. כך מבוארים כך בפרוטרות, דיני עירובי תחומים. Also we're going to discuss city limits. This is עירובי תחומים. How much out of the cities are you allowed to walk? ומכאן שם המסכת, from here is the name of distracted עירובין, עירוב, שכן כוללת היא כל ענייני עירוב של שבת, because it includes everything that has to do with the mitzvah of עירוב on Shabbat. So it looks like the entire mitzvah of עירוב was established in the days of King Solomon. Before that, the Torah allowed you to do whatever. Okay. כבר הזכרנו במקומות אחדים, we already mentioned in many places, שאסור לצאת לאדם בשבת חוץ ל2,000 אמה ממקום שקנה בשביתתו. That a person who settled on Shabbat in a particular place is only allowed to walk out of it for 2,000 steps. That's the most.
So the Torah doesn't have Eruv in it?
Not at all. The Torah assumes that you will not go into the public domain.
Right.
If you have a private domain, stay there. But since people thought it was the same, the Torah says, oh, you know what, you guys, we're going to force you to do Eruvin, then you're going to remember that you cannot take it into the public domain, because you don't remember by yourself.
Or not remember, but they won't transgress.
That's it.
There's that really large one in New York, I forget what island it's around, but there's a very large area in New York. How do they all contribute food for the same place?
Very good question. Very good question. The Eruv over there, it's not Eruv Chatzirot. It's an Eruv of the entire city. We'll see if we're going to discuss this or not. Over there, it's for the entire city. It's a different kind of Eruv than over here. But we might actually discuss it later on.
Yeah, because in LA, Phoenix, somewhere they have similar where they use the freeway. I mean, giant pieces of the the city.
In Israel, you can have entire cities.
Yeah.
All of Ramat Gan is in Eruv. Actually, I think most major cities in Israel are under Eruv. Yeah, they have the whole city in Eruv. But we're going to see this.
Right.
If this Eruv is the same Eruv that we're talking about over here, it's not. Or is it? So we'll see. מקום שקנה בשבילתו, שיש שם בשעת... So, in other words, over here, it's not even about carrying. It's not even talking about carrying over here. When we're talking about not to go out of the city limit. You're not allowed to go, even if you're not carrying. You're not allowed to go out of the city limits, even without carrying. It's something else completely.
So, like walking from where we live to here?
That's right. But this is within city limits.
Okay.
City is not what is, it's not what the city discusses. City is when the last house stops. That's where the city stops. So for example, if you look at the East Coast, you can probably go hundreds of miles out of New York and you still theoretically be called within the city limit. It has to be no houses for, I think for 2,000 amma. For like, okay. Shehem Trum Shabbat. This is the area that a person has to stay within Shabbat. איסור זה שלא לצאת חוץ לתחום שבת נחלקו בחכמים. This prohibition not to walk out of the city limit, the sages had disagreements. יש סוברים שמן התורה הוא. There are some says this is a mitzvah from the Torah. Well, it's actually a verse. Where's the verse? It says in Shmot, אל יצא איש ממקומו ביום השביעי. It says a man is not allowed to go out from his place on the seventh day. ודורשים בגזרה שווה מפרשת הרי הלוויים, and they learn it from גזרה שווה, the same words from the cities of the Levites, שמה שנאמר ממקומו, what do they learn? That it says you're not allowed to go out from your place. This is 2,000 אמה. This is 2,000 אמה. אולם לדעת רוב התנאים, but according to the majority of the Tanas, שיעור תחום שבת של 2,000 אמה, the measurement of 2,000 אמה אינו אלא מדברי סופרים. It says the halacha is from the Torah, but the measurement of 2,000 אמה is from the rabbis. וכך גם ההלכה, and this is also the law. אלא שיש סוברים, those who think שתחום 12 מיל, what's the real, according to the Torah they say, it's 24,000 אמה. It's 24,000. What's 24,000? It's like 12 miles. כמידת מחנה ישראל במדבר. It is the measurement of the Jewish camp in the desert. הוא מדברי תורה. This is from the words of the Torah. ועל שיעור זה נאמר על יצא איש מקומו מהשביעי. In other words, you're not allowed to go the camp of the Jewish people. More than the camp of the Jewish people, you're not allowed to travel. And the measurement of the camp in the Jewish people when they travel in the desert was 12 miles, the length.
You mean of where? Because there's so many people.
600,000. In 600,000 they were within 12 miles. ויש דעות שכל איסורי תחומים אינם אלה מדברי סופרים. There are those who think that the entire prohibition of city limits, the whole thing is from the rabbis. וכל מה שלמדים מהכתובים אינו לאסמכתא. And the fact that we learn something from the written word, this is just a hint, but it's not really a law in the Torah. This is just from the rabbis. Okay, so there are three different opinions. Some say 2,000 amma is from the Torah. Some say 12 mile is only from the Torah. 2,000 amma is from the rabbis. And some say everything is from the rabbis. Three opinions. Okay. מכל מקום, nevertheless, for our case, ההלכה היא שאסור לאדם ללכת בשבת חוץ ל2,000 אמה ממקום שבילתו. So we know the law is not allowed to walk for 2,000 אמה outside of where you are. ברם, מי ששבת במקום יישוב, but if you took Shabbat in a city, within a city, כגון בעיר או בכפר, like a city or a village, אף שהיישוב משתרע על שטח של כמה פרסאות, if the city goes for many miles, רשאי הוא ללכת בשבת, כל היישוב is allowed to walk the entire city limit, ומחוצה לו 2,000 אמה. And then outside of the city limit, you have 2,000 אמה. So you go until the last house of the city, and from there on you have 2,000 אמה. ששטח היישוב כולו נחשב כ400 לבד. The entire city is considered to be one place. So when it says don't go out from your place, it means from the place that people are dwelling. ואף בתחום השבת הקלו חכמים על ידי תקנת עירוב. And even in תחום שבת, The Chachamim made it lenient when they established the mitzvah of Eruv. שאם אדם צריך ללכת בשבת חוץ לתחום לצורך מצווה. So here's the thing. I live in a village over here, and then there's a village close by. But the village close by is 3,000 amma. Right? So my village is over here, and then there's another village, 3,000 amma.
From edge to edge.
From edge to edge, that's right. So, and I have a bris over there. Somebody invited me to a brit, so how am I going to get there? So if there's a mitzvah, I'm going there for a mitzvah, for a brit, for example. I'm a moel, I need to circumcise it, I'm the sandak, I need to be there, whatever the reason is. לצורך mitzvah, for the sake of a mitzvah, כגון, what can be a mitzvah? He gives an example. ללמוד Torah, somebody over there teaches a class that I want to hear. Yeah? Or לנחם אבלים, or there's a funeral over there. You say a funeral, you don't bury on Shabbat, but the funeral is going to be right after Shabbat, and I'm not going to make it right after Shabbat. Or לשמח חתן וכלה, or the same thing, there's a wedding right after Shabbat, and I'm not going to be able to make it. הרי הוא עושה בערב שבת עירוב תחומים. So you can make such a thing before Shabbat, an עירוב תחומים. What's an עירוב תחומים? היינו, I'm going to go in between the two cities, in between, the place over there, מניח במקום מסוים בתוך תחומו, או בסופו מזון שתי סעודות. I'm going to walk 1,999 amma, and I'm going to put food over there. The fact that there's food over there means that I was planning to eat there. Now, if I'm planning to eat there, I am making it, the meal makes it important as part of the city. And then it's considered to be, now I can count 2,000 more amma from this place. So I actually combined now the two cities together so I can walk there.
So by 2 you're not going out of the city.
That's right, so I'm not going to go out of the city limit. Very good. ועל ידי כך הוא קונה שם שביתה בשעת כניסת השבת. So which means that I am allowed, if I put food over there, it means that I allow myself that place when Shabbos comes in. So when Shabbos comes in and then I greet that place, I have from that place 2,000 amma more, and then I can reach the other village. כלומר, שרואים מקום הנחת העירוב כאילו ביתו לשבת, we are looking at like this is my house for Shabbat, because there's food over there, and the food gives it importance. מותר לו ללך בשבת מאותו מקום 2,000 אמה, I'm allowed to walk from that place outside 2,000 אמה, לכל רוח, to every direction, כגון, for example, אם מניח את העירוב בסוף 2,000 אמה ממקומו לצד מזרח, if I went to the east and put over there food, 2,000 אמה, רשאי הוא ללכת בשבת לצד מזרח 4,000 אמה. Then I can extend my range another 2,000 אמה from that place to the east. 2,000 אמה ממקומו עד מקום העירוב, 2,000 until the place of the עירוב, ו2,000 אמה משם ואילך, and 2,000 more, that this is the city limit. I made this into part of the city, and now I can walk 2,000 more. אבל ממקומו לצד מערב, אסור לו ללך כלל. But from his place to the west, now I'm not allowed to go at all.
So it's not 2,000 on a circle.
Oh, so what it is, the city limit now is, I'm not allowed to go to the west at all. Why? לפי שכאן נגמרות 2,000 אמה ממקום עירובו. Because over there, the 2,000 אמה from the place of עירוב is finished. In other words, this is what happened. I took east now 4,000 amma, and that now if let's say I change my mind and I want to go to the west of the city, I'm not allowed to go out of the city limit now. On the west of the city.
Can't go at all.
Can't go at all.
Because you did all this before Shabbos.
That's right.
What if you push the same thing you placed lower, just 10 feet above it? So you have like a circular.
Oh, so you say I can go throughout the city and go in every direction and put a piece of that, and then maybe I will have. It's a good question. Are you allowed to go in opposite directions? I don't know. I don't know how to answer it. We'll see. I'm sure it's going to discuss it. אמנם, אם הניח עירובו למשל בסוף 1,000 אמה לצד מזרח, let's see, if you took the עירוב and put it 1,000 אמה to the east, רשאי הוא ללך לצד מזרח 3,000 אמה, then you're allowed to walk 3,000 אמה to the east, 1,000 אמה עד מקום עירובו, 1,000 אמה until the food, ומשם ואילך עוד 2,000 אמה, and from there on another 2,000 אמה. ולצד מערב רשאי הוא ללך 1,000 אמה בלבד, and to the west is only allowed to go now 1,000 אמה from that place. Because as you know, it's 2,000 אמה, so he only used 1,000 אמה, so he has extra 1,000. שם 2,000 אמה מקום עירובו, which is 2,000 from the place of his עירוב. I don't think they're talking about city over here, because if it's a city limit, maybe the city itself established it 2,000 amma out. Let's say you're alone, you have a house and you put 2,000 amma. Yeah, that's right. You have a house and then 2,000 amma, that's when it happens. Because the city limit, I think, established it on itself. It doesn't need you. So I made a mistake from before, but you get the idea. You're living in a village somewhere and you're by yourself. כשם שמערבים במזון, כך מערבים ברגליים. So the same way you make an eruv with food, you're also allowed to walk. כלומר, שהולכים בערב שבת למקום שרוצים להיות בשביתה, מחשיכים שם בין השמשות. It means that you're allowed to go Friday afternoon to that place and sit over there when Shabbos comes in. וחוזרים אחר כך הביתה. And after Shabbos comes in, the fact that you were there makes it part of the city. Part of your house. Let's go, not part of the city, part of the house. פרטי הדינים בעניין תחום שבת, so all these laws when it comes to the area of שבת, סימון גבולות היישוב, how do we establish city limits, what's the rules to establish city limits, מדידת 2,000 אמה, how do we measure, there's also rules for that, the 2,000 אמה, דרכי קניית שביתה ועוד, how we can buy our settlement in a place, to make this part, כלומר מבוארים מסכתנו, all these things are going to be explained in this מסכת. So all the things, that's what we're going to be learning. Finished over here.
So man, it's not only putting food, put food, you don't have to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can walk there, but then you have to sit there till nightfall.
Until Shabbat kicks in, because the beginning of Shabbat is what buys it. Once Shabbat kicks in, you bought the space.